We often talk about how video games are one of the largest forms of entertainment on the planet, but I don't think people fully understand what that means, because in the minds of a lot of people, laypersons and gamers alike, video games are still a very niche thing. Now, that might be true to a certain degree, but on the flip side, it's also a very, very incorrect statement. And nowhere is that highlighted more than in the amount of money that's being thrown around within the video games industry at this moment in time. Hi, I'm Rob, and welcome to Gossip News, and today we're going to start off with the amount of money that's being thrown around within video games. Kind of. See, with the recent acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft for $70 billion, and with Sony buying Bungie, and with Microsoft buying Bethesda for, I think it was around $7 or $8 billion, with all that amount of money, you're talking billions of dollars being thrown around within the industry. You're talking about Tencent buying Zynga. I've forgotten exactly how much that deal was for. There's so much money being thrown around within the video games industry at the moment that for people to still consider it a niche form of entertainment is kind of ludicrous. But that's what continues to happen. Now, counter to that is a recent study by Ampere Analysis, who are a data and analytics firm, and they estimate that spending on console games, hardware and services reached a whopping $60 billion last year. Now, according to the firm, that's a record high that was only held back by the lack of availability for PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's and S's. Now, they do acknowledge that the higher price of the consoles that existed and the higher price of games does help with the increase in spending, but still, $60 billion in 1 year. Now, just to put that into context, we'll look at movies. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, during its entire lifetime of 27 movies, has only made $25.6 billion. That's gross earnings. Star Wars, for 12 films, has only made $10.3 billion gross earnings. The Spider-Man franchise has only made $9.5 billion, and that's over the course of 11 films. Harry Potter has 10 films in the franchise. They made $9.2 billion. So basically, in 1 year, video games made more money than the top 4 highest grossing film franchises of all time. That should give you an idea of just where video games place in terms of entertainment media. Now, there are a few of the points that the report goes through, so I'm going to link to it in the description below. If you are interested in how the video games industry works, the business side of things, the corporate side of things, it does make for interesting reading. And even if you aren't, have a look at the report, because if you got it in your head that video games are still a niche thing that need to be defended by you, this kind of puts it in perspective that no, it doesn't need to be defended by you. You don't need to justify why you like a certain game over another type of game, or why you like a certain type of console over another type of console. What you like is what you like. Video games is big enough to take care of itself. You don't need to worry about it. You just need to enjoy the games that you're playing and enjoy the consoles that you're playing them on, or the PC that you're playing your games on. That's all you need to do. Moving on to video game streaming, and Amazon's Luna streaming platform has finally launched in the US with free Prime games. Now, there are some kind of caveats to this whole thing. The cloud gaming service, which is powered by Amazon's web service infrastructure, will allow players to stream games up to 4K at 60 FPS on multiple devices, including Fire TV, PC, Mac, Android, and iOS, through a browser. Now, this is where it gets a bit weirdly complicated with this Luna service. See, you have Amazon Prime Gaming, and then you have Luna, which is the streaming service, which you can get with Prime Gaming. But you also have Prime Gaming on Luna as one of the optional extra channels, along with other channels. So you got the Retro Channel, Family Channel, Jackbox Games Channel, Ubisoft Plus, Luna Plus, and the Prime Gaming Channel, as I mentioned. And the Prime Gaming Channel will have a rotating selection of games from month to month. But unlike Stadia, you don't own any of the games, so it's a bit more like GamePass. And that's where things get a bit more confusing, because you still get your free games with your Amazon Prime gaming membership, which are on PC as well. I understand what they're going for. This is basically a get what you want and only what you want kind of service. So you don't need to pay for any of the extra channels if you don't want them. Now, my main worry with this is that Stadia has basically failed. PlayStation Now isn't really as big as it could have been. xCloud still hasn't really taken off properly. And although xCloud and PS Now have a firm presence within the minds of gamers, one would have thought that Google Stadia, given the size of Google and their ability as a company, would have dwarfed xCloud and PS Now. But that didn't happen. And my main worry with this entire thing with Amazon Luna is that it's going to end up going the way of Stadia. So we'll keep an eye on this and we'll let you know what happens. Anyway, the Steam Deck is out and early reports are that it's a hell of a machine. The rumours that Gabe Newell was going around hand-delivering Steam Decks to people and signing them also turned out to be true. That's not what we're here to talk about, though. What we are here to talk about is GamePass on Steam. In a recent interview with PC Gamer, Gabe Newell was asked about the possibility of the Steam Deck having its own subscription service, kind of like GamePass. To which he said, "I don't think it's something that we think we need to do ourselves, building a subscription service at this time. But for their customers, Game Pass is clearly a popular option and we'd be more than happy to work with them to get that on Steam." So, the door is open for Microsoft to basically approach Valve and say, let's get Game Pass onto Steam, let's get it on the Steam Decks. Please, do this. I'm begging you, do this. In other Valve news, Gabe Newell also did an interview with Rock Paper Shotgun, which was kind of wide-ranging. They covered a number of topics, from the debut of the Steam Deck to keeping PC an open platform to NFTs and how people who are currently dealing with NFTs are not people that you want to do business with, because about half of them are crooks and thieves and stuff like that. I do agree with him on that, by the way, but that's not what we wanted to focus on. See, one of the things that Gabe Newell said during the interview was that he was more on the skeptical side of what value consolidation brings, saying that these unions ultimately need to be creating more value for customers and developers. If you aren't doing something like that, then those sorts of acquisitions and consolidations don't end up positively. And if you do it, then you know, good, you're making the gaming market better. I'll link the full interview in the description below, but that particular snippet of the interview, focusing on consolidation by corporations of the video games industry, kind of making these video gaming mega conglomerate type things, heading towards that monopolistic metaverse future that I keep talking about, that kind of ties in with some of the comments that Sid Meier, the legendary game designer and creator of Civilization, made in an interview with the BBC that was part of the 30th anniversary celebration of the release of Civilization. Now, Civilization is a game that Time magazine once called one of the 100 greatest games. It's one of those games that will pull you in. It's had 5 sequels. Doesn't matter what sort of gamer you are, you will get pulled into Civilization and you will lose hours to this game, I guarantee it. But be that as it may, it kind of reflects just how much he understands about games. The fact that he can keep making this sort of game and keep pulling people into it. Now, during the interview, he did issue a few stark warnings for the video games industry as a whole. One of the things that he did want to talk about and did focus on in particular was gameplay. Quoting directly from the interview, "The real challenge and the real opportunity is keeping our focus on gameplay. That is what is unique, special, and appealing about games as a form of entertainment. When we forget that and decide it's about monetization or other things that are not gameplay focused, when we start to forget about making great games and start thinking about games as a vehicle or an opportunity for something else, that's when we stray a little bit further from the path." He does go on to say that people can assume that a game is going to be fun and what it needs for success are more cinematics or monetization or whatever. But if the core just is not there with good gameplay, then it won't work. In a sense, gameplay is cheap. The game design part is critical and crucial, but doesn't require a cast of thousands in the way some of the other aspects do. So it's perhaps easy to overlook how important the investment in game design and gameplay is. He also points out that there are lots of other ways that people can spend their leisure time. I think the way the internet works, once a shift starts to happen, then everybody runs to that side of the ship. I think we need to be sure that our games continue to be high quality and fun to play. There are so many forms of entertainment out there now. We're in a good position, but we need to be sure we realize how critical gameplay is and how that is the engine that really keeps players happy, engaged, and having fun. Which is an interesting way of looking at things, looking at it from the gameplay first, because with consolidation comes homogenization, comes repetition, using the same mechanics over and over again instead of innovating. Now, I understand he's made the Civilization games, and they do have similar mechanics from one game to the next, but there's always something that pulls you into those games. There's always some unique hook, something different, something that works. It's the same with the Age of Empires games, and although people were critical about Age of Empires 3, I still enjoyed that game along with lots of other people who play real-time strategies. It's kind of the same with racing games. Now, I'm going to use Forza Horizon 5 as an example here, because I absolutely adore Forza Horizon 5. It's one of those games where they took out all the extra bits, made them optional, and just left gameplay. You just jump in a car, you drive around, you can race against other people if you want, you don't need to if you don't want to. I've spent many a time in Forza Horizon 4 and 5 just literally jumping into a car and going off and exploring the countryside. Getting my wheels dirty, that sort of thing. I've had a whale of a time with it. And that's kind of the point I think he's making. Those sorts of games don't come around from repetition, from consolidation, from homogenization. Those sorts of games focus on the gameplay first, which is the fun part of things. Anyway, moving on to Who Bought Who, and this time around, it's our special Weird Things That Companies Bought edition. Epic bought Bandcamp. Now, a lot of people probably don't understand what Bandcamp is. Some of you out there who are in the know will know exactly what Bandcamp is. It's an online record store and music community. They've been around for years, and people who are in the know when it comes to music absolutely love Bandcamp. My colleague Rob, who works with me on Impossible Mission and runs his own podcast, which is called Directors Uncut, do check it out, it's really good. He absolutely swears by Bandcamp. He's discovered all sorts of interesting music, all sorts of interesting bands and musicians and singers on there that people haven't heard about. Now, in a statement on the Bandcamp blog, the co-founder and CEO Ethan Diamond explained that the company is going to continue operating as a standalone marketplace and music community following the acquisition, and that he was going to continue being the CEO. He does go on to say that the company will be working with Epic in the background to expand internationally and push development forward across its services, which is great. Epic said that the two companies share a mission of building the most artist-friendly platform that enables creators to keep the majority of their hard-earned money. It added that Bandcamp will play an important role in Epic's vision to build out a creator marketplace ecosystem for content, technology, games, art, music, and more. Now, those are lofty goals, but I am a little bit hesitant to accept them at face value because Epic is still a big company that makes billions of dollars from video games. And one thing I know to be true is that companies are businesses. They are designed to make money first and foremost. That is the be-all and end-all. If other people and consumers can make money as well, that's a happy byproduct, but it's not a necessity for a company to function. We all know that. We've all seen it firsthand from the likes of EA and Ubisoft and Activision Blizzard and the rest of them. But that's not the weirdest thing that a video games developer or publisher has spent money on this week, because MiHoYo, the developers of Genshin Impact and Honkai Impact, they have invested $65 million into nuclear fusion technology. I'm just going to let that sit there for a moment while you process what I just said. Okay, so what's this all about? Well, MiHoYo contributed $65 million to Energy Singularity, a nuclear fusion technology company that creates tokamak devices and operational control systems designed to lower carbon emissions. MiHoYo joined companies like Neo Capital, Sequoia China's seed fund, Blue Run Ventures in the first finance round for Energy Singularity. The funds will mainly be used to develop a tokamak device by 2024. What's one of those, I hear you all say? Well, a tokamak device is a magnetic confinement device that produces controlled thermonuclear fusion power. I mean, it's only last month that MiHoYo announced a cross-media brand called the HoYoverse, and now they're investing in thermonuclear fusion technology. I'm not sure how to process this. I don't know whether this is MiHoYo having close ties with the Chinese government and then basically saying, hey, we'll do this. Are they branching out into other industries? Are they simply adding to their investment portfolio? I'm really confused by all of this, which is probably a good place for us to leave. So, if you have any thoughts about any of the stories we've covered today, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to go and give my brain a rest from that final story. I'll be back again soon, either in an episode of Impossible Mission or on the next episode of Gossip News. Until then, thanks for watching.